Hey Money Guy family, it's your host Brian Preston, Mr. Bo Hansen on a beautiful sunny day here in Franklin, Tennessee.
That's right. You've got financial questions, we've got your financial answers. Go out to your favorite social, use the hashtag AskTheMoneyGuy, or you can go to our website, moneyguy.com, ask us a question, we'll answer it right here in the Tesla.
It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
So Brian, today's question is one that we get a lot from recent college grads, people just starting out, or people looking to move to a new community. And generally the question goes something like this: is it better for me to rent, or is it better for me to buy?
Man, the old American dream, or do you just pay rent? That's a hard one. I gotta tell you, and I will tell you where we're gonna go with this is we're gonna give you the pluses of both being a renter and then the positives of buying your place.
And then give you some thoughts on how to make the decision for yourself personally.
So here's the thing though that I think is interesting is there was an article that just came out in CNBC that said that we just flipped the script for the change the trend from the last 10 years.
Okay.
Because the real estate marketplace got crushed after the 2008, 2009, and really 2010, the real estate kind of went into a U-shaped recovery where it struggled for a little bit. The last 10 years, it's been awesome to be a home buyer, meaning that you could get a lot of value for when you purchased a house, when you compared it to what you'd have to pay in rent for the same thing.
Sure.
We've now crossed the point to where house appreciation has gone, really, we've had a lot of year-over-year appreciation in housing. The cost of housing, the transaction cost of buying a house has gotten to the point, like last year, I think the article referenced, buying a house got 14% more expensive if you looked at over a year over year, whereas rent only went up 4%. So we crossed a primary standpoint that it might actually be cheaper to rent a house than it is to buy a house currently.
Okay.
And I think that surprises people. So let's try to figure out, does that make sense? Does that mean you should be a renter, or does that mean you should still go the traditional American dream and buy a house? So let's first talk about what are the benefits to renting a house. As I just shared, a big part of it is that right now, economically, it might be cheaper to have that money accumulate, pay rent, save that down payment, save the additional money that you didn't pay by buying a house, and have that money working for you, waiting for the next downturn in the economy so you can get that deal in the real estate marketplace.
Additionally, ongoing maintenance tends to be a little bit cheaper when you think about renting. While you still have to pay for insurance is likely less expensive. If the water heater goes out or the air conditioner breaks, rather than having to call the repair guy, you just call
the landlord
and they show up and they fix it. So a lot of the ongoing maintenance costs are much lower when it comes to renting than owning.
And you're not worried about pipes freezing, air conditioning units being replaced, or the roof having to be reshingled. So there's a lot of peace of mind from just renting.
And I think one of the other really big things that renting affords, and we talk about this all the time, is it gives you pretty much the maximum amount of flexibility. Because I've heard you say this before, when you buy a piece of real estate, you are marrying yourself to an extent to that piece of land. When you're a renter, it gives you the option to change depending on what your rental term is, whether it's 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. You have much more flexibility when you're a renter than when you're an owner.
Yeah, because when you buy a house, realize there's transaction costs on both sides. You got to pay realtor fees, you got to pay recording fees. It takes years to recoup. You got to have appreciation just to recoup those costs. So if you're a person that works in a career field that moves you around every few years, just by that nature alone, you might need to be a renter.
Right.
But the other part is that when you rent versus buy, you don't have to come up with that down payment. That
huge,
10 or 20% down payment is money you don't have to come up with, and that's not the easiest thing to even have that down payment money. And then the last thing is just you are not tied. If you want to make a big jump and move to a different city, or you're just not so sure about where life's going to take you the next 3 to 5 years, it's exactly what Bo said, maximum flexibility being a renter.
That's right.
Let's flip the script. Let's talk about, when does it make sense to be a purchaser or buy a house, have the American dream? I think a lot of people like when you own a house, when you do home improvement projects, when you plant the new azalea bushes, or you put a tree in the front yard, it's yours.
That's right.
I was talking to a neighbor, and I'm so mad we didn't do this because we built our house. When he built his house, he had all the kids sign some of the studs and some of the other things. And nobody will ever see this stuff, but it's just kind of a cool legacy thing because they built this house for their family. And that leads to the other benefit is that when you own a house, it lets you drop roots in a community so that your kids can feel like they have some stable area to make friends,
Right.
to get tied into the school system. There are definite benefits when you're raising a family to owning your house.
You know, the other big thing, and we hear this all the time, especially with young folks who are just starting out, they would say, well, I don't want to go be a renter because I'm just going to be throwing that rent away. At least if I go buy something, I'll be building equity. It's actually a way to save and think about investing money. So one of the big benefits of home ownership is that you do actually get to build equity inside of this thing that you're living in.
No doubt. And it's also an inflation protector. So if you're worried about rising interest rates, you're worried about the cost of things going up, and you're worried, can I keep up? Real estate naturally is a great inflation hedge. So there's a chance once you own the house, you don't have to worry about are the houses appreciating rapidly in your area, because you'll kind of be insulated from that because you have the house that you're raising your family in.
So how do you make the decision, should I be a renter or should I be a buyer?
Well, it goes back to the stat that I told you at the beginning. Right now, we just crossed over a key point to where renting is actually economically cheaper than buying. So that leads to, if you're following the clues like Encyclopedia Brown, that leads to that all of your money is made on real estate when you purchase the real estate. So if we're in an undervalued or downturn, it's a great time. It's an easy answer to buy the real estate. Now, when you're in a situation where we've had great appreciation, the market has recovered completely, you have to ask yourself, now does my lifestyle warrant buying a house? Am I going to be in this area long enough where the ancillary benefits of building in roots and setting, making some traction in the local community outweigh that, I might be paying a premium for this? Those are the type of lifestyle things that will go into it. It's not only an economic of where's the intrinsic value, it's also what's going on within your personal life.
Yeah, there's a really easy rule of thumb. We always recommend you probably shouldn't consider buying a piece of property, at least for a primary residence, unless you can see yourself being there for 5 to 7 years.
For sure. It's a long-term decision.
If you think that you have a much shorter time frame, then you may want to look at renting. And another thing is if you're moving to a brand new community that you're not familiar with, you've never been in before, you may want to look at renting just so you can get a lay of the land. You understand where the grocery store you want to go to is, what the gym looks like, where the local school system is. You want to make sure you figure those things out before you make the purchase decision. So moving to a new community and renting for 6 months to a year might make a lot of sense. And then once you know the answer to those questions, then think about making the leap to being a purchaser.
Real estate is a very illiquid investment, so measure twice, cut once, so that you don't make a big catastrophic decision. And then here's the last thing I always tell people is be careful when you buy real estate on looking at the value more than the location. Bo just said it, know where the grocery stores are, know where the local schools that you want your kids to go, and just know how you're going to spend your life, because I saw way too many people when we lived in Atlanta that bought in very suburban, way out and about locations because they thought they were getting a better deal, only to find that they really missed that they were far away from work, they were far away from amenities, far away from just good things for entertaining and just making a great place for quality of life. So pay attention to those things. But the end of the thing is just pay attention to that purchase price, because that's where your money's made, and then make sure it fits with your lifestyle.
If you guys have a question or something you're curious about, ask us. You can go to the website moneyguy.com, or you can go out to your favorite social, use the hashtag AskTheMoneyGuy, and we'll answer your financial questions right here in the Tesla.
I'm your host, Brian Preston. Mr. Bo Hansen, Money Guy out.